how much do head sculpts matter? Because Riley had brought up the idea of, or the topic rather, of Black Widow. So I had her pulled up because she's one of the recent ones, right? Where I've heard a lot of people, and this, this goes for Cable too. This goes for any number of figures, maybe they have a subpar head sculpt. I can point to this. If Loki drops and that head sculpt is subpar, I'm probably still going to get it, right? So I think that's why this conversation is really interesting, because I think the head sculpt matters a lot, but sometimes it's not the number one factor. So Optical, I want to jump back to you on this one. How much ultimately do you think head sculpts matter to you and to collectors in general?
In the grand scheme of things, if you take 5 figures with different brands, you take away the head sculpts, they all the same. It's gonna be Asmus, Star Ace, Hot Toys, and InArt. That's the only separating factor between these companies. Who who what is, because all of them has good tailoring. Like Asmus has good tailoring, Star Ace has good tailoring. What separates them is the head sculpt.
No.
But as far as like characters, like you loving it, it's not the only thing that matters. Like I bought Asmus because I bought that dreaded Aragorn because I love I love Lord of the Rings and I have no other option at the time. So like with Loki, you can overlook that for certain characters that you love, especially if you have no option, meaning you are desperate for something. It's like you sold your Loki, so now you're desperate for a Loki. Yeah, you're in a desperation mode. But let's say this Black Widow, you probably won't get it because you don't even like Black Widow that much. So and then there's like 7 other Black Widows out there, where if this doesn't satisfy you, you can go back to like, you know what, let me get the Endgame one. That's in a different movie. Maybe it's that. So how much does it matter? I guess the answer, it depends on how many figures have they already made of that head sculpt of that character, because that would determine whether you need to upgrade or not. Because otherwise, like with me, I have a Black Widow from Endgame. I don't need this, kind of like, the only thing that would force you to buy this if the head sculpt would blow you away. Like, oh man, this is such a big improvement from Endgame that I'm willing to get this. But if it's not, then then you would pass. And in your case, I don't know, did they hit Loki all that much anyway? I mean, what is the best Loki so far?
That's a really good question. Probably the best Loki is the TVA one they teased. But I really like the Endgame head sculpt that they teased. Originally, the proto that they showed, I really liked it. So I'm hoping it comes out kind of similar to that. But you're right, Optical. They haven't nailed a Loki head sculpt.
Right. I think I had the Dark Ragnarok Loki, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not bad.
It's I don't know if you can call it the best of the bunch, but I guess that's the most recent one, so you can call it quote unquote the best. But let's say I have that, which I sold mine in anticipation to this Loki, and if this Loki comes out and it's not what it is, it's kind of soft, then why upgrade? I don't, I'm not a big Loki fan like you, so I guess the answer to this question is, it does matter in a sense where if there's multiple characters already of that figure, that's what would determine whether you're gonna buy that figure or not.
Right. Yeah. That's what I think was right. Sideshow makes it so hard to search for things sometimes. Like I type in Loki Endgame, it just doesn't.
It's your Honey app.
It's got to be the Honey browser, dude.
Yeah.
But so I'll jump to Carlos. Actually, Carlos, how much do head sculpts matter?
I think personally, head sculpts matter a whole ton. Specifically for me, I'm probably going to be in the minority of things because I'm more of I don't see as Hot Toys as something like, if it doesn't have a good head sculpt, and then I'm probably not gonna. Now at this point of where I am, you and I have talked about this, I'm probably not even going to get it at this point. I'm not even going to bother, especially for what the figure I may not even want. Or like Black Widow, perfect example. I do want a Black Widow because he's from the original 6, but I wasn't going to get anyone because I just didn't feel like any of them were good. And I just don't want to have a figure and in my display and be like, well, it was, it's fine, because I want a representation. I don't like any character except Iron Man to that extent to want to have a representation of a bad looking figure, because it just doesn't look good. It just looks more laughable than like, hey, look what I have, right? At least that's for me. So what I do is, because I don't believe Hot Toys are the kind of figures that like, go and become like statue prices at the end. So, they'll go up $500, $600, $700 or so, but nothing like 3,000 or some crazy number. So for me, like for Black Widow, I realized that there was a custom head sculpt, coming out for her. So I got the custom head sculpt so that I could, and then I bought the actual Black Widow figure so that I can replace the head sculpt. So for me, I will go that route, which I know most people won't. I'll go that custom route. And if there's a custom one, then I can always pick up a hot toy. They're not that hard to find. You know what I mean? So that's what I would do. But not everyone's going to spend $1,000 or $1,500 on a sculpt, not including the figure alone. But I probably would if I really like the character enough. So like I said, I'm definitely in the minority for that. So for me, it matters a ton. If it's not there, I'm not even going to bother. So
yeah, that makes sense. Well, Riley, what about you, bro? Now that you just rejoined, what about you, man, with head sculpts? How do you feel about this?
Dude, this is an interesting one. I think I'm kind of more so on the boat of Carlos because, well, it kind of depends on the character. But at the end of the day, I think all of us really do buy hot toys because the main thing is, which in my eyes is the head sculpt. I think that's the most important thing because it just looks so lifelike in comparison to any other thing that we have on the 6-scale market. I mean, now that we have InArt, it's more competition. But I mean, you can even bring up InArt for a sense. That's something where head sculpts really do matter to people because you also have to add in the rooted hair, etc. And the best example I can bring is the Aragorn. That was one that was very, very, very conflicting for a lot of people. And the main reason for that is because of the sculpt. The sculpt was very controversial. So I think that kind of tells you that head sculpts really matter a lot, especially when it comes to like premium priced figures like InArt. Because when everyone saw the Aragorn one, they're like most people would say that they were not satisfied with how it looked, and they think that it needed to be a lot better. It was not on par with the pricing that they have it at or where it will be at. Who knows how the rooted will turn out? But and then you look at figures like the Joker, where everyone's super excited, and it's exactly like I said. That matters a lot to collectors. And right here, the Aragorn, yeah, is very, very controversial. And I think that it makes sense because if we look at the Joker in comparison to this, you can obviously tell there's a difference between quality on the head sculpts. It could be a lot better. But like I said, but to me, there's certain figures where like, yeah, if I love them enough, I'm still going to get them. The best example I can bring is the Doc Ock. That's one that like I'm really waiting day by day to see if they update that, because I know that's one that a lot of collectors, including myself, that just really do want it improved. But at the end of the day, that movie to me and that particular character, even if the head sculpt stayed where it was at, I'd still get it. I don't think there's a way for me to be like, no, I can't get this figure, because it's just it's that important to me where I need to get it in my display. I'll put the glasses on. I don't know what I'd do. I don't think it looks like the worst thing ever, but I do really hope they do improve it. But again, I'm still going to end up getting that figure because it just means that much to me personally.
Right. So there's a line, I feel like, with everyone, maybe except Carlos, except with Iron Man, where you're willing to accept maybe mediocrity for a character that you just love, that maybe you're not going to get another representation of. Like Optical, we talked about that Endgame Loki, right? They're probably not making another Avengers outfit Loki again anytime soon or at all. So if that figure doesn't come out with a great head sculpt, I kind of have to make a choice, right? And I'm probably still going to get it because it's Loki, but not for any character would I do that. It would only have to be Loki, probably, or Kylo. Those would be the two that I would say. But I did have Joel and Ellie too, Optical. So, the CC Toys versions.
Can I say though, it was a third party? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What, the CC Toys, Joel and Ellie? Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Like for me, even then, like I've been getting more into like just even collecting the custom sculpts, even though there's no figure coming out, just in case they ever do come out. Like I bought this, because for Professor X, I don't know if you can see that really well.
Hold on,
I don't know if it's gonna zoom in there.
Wow,
that looks
you
great.
can kind of see it. You know what I mean? So something like that, like I have it, and it's just sitting over there, but there's no figure for it. And unfortunately, with custom stuff, you have to just buy things and hopefully sit on it, and eventually you can always sell them. But anyway, so to me, again, it matters, because I'm even willing to just sit on things just in case if they ever come out with something in the future. So
yeah, that makes sense. Well, guys, great chat on that one. I actually want to address one of our super chats real quick.